So the first solution is come along to our New Teacher Challenge, because on day 2, the 10th of January, Alisha will be talking about setting up a classroom management plan and how you need to go about that, and some different suggestions of what you can do. Our second solution is, if you're not listening to this in real time, is we have got a free masterclass that is full of suggestions on establishing a positive classroom environment. So we will put the link to that in our show notes. It's got a little workbook and it's got some videos that you can watch, and it really will help you plan out how to establish that positive classroom environment, which will in turn help your classroom management.
Absolutely. And just really think about, if you were starting at a new job, you would want it to feel inviting and to feel that you're heard and you're accepted. So really, one thing that you can walk away with from this episode regarding classroom management is injecting fun into your classroom. Welcome to Rainbow Skies for New Teachers, where we're all about bite-sized tips and simple strategies for bright and busy new teachers.
If you're in your first few years of your career and want to make the roller coaster ride of teaching more fun, streamlined and stress-free, you're in the right place.
We're Ashleigh and Alisha, the dynamic duo from Rainbow Sky Creations, and we're excited to be your teacher mentors on the go. There are rainbows ahead, my friend.
And together, we're unstoppable. Let's get into today's episode.
Here at Rainbow Sky Creations, we acknowledge the Dara people and the Whadjuk Noongar people, the traditional custodians of the lands on which we record this podcast today, where we live, work and learn. We pay our respects to their past, present and emerging elders of this nation, and supports the cultural, spiritual and educational practices of First Nations people. Hello and welcome to Rainbow Skies for New Teachers. This is episode 12, where we're going to unpack 5 worries new teachers have. Tell us a little bit more about worries, Ash.
If I had a book with worries from my beginning years of teaching, it would have been full. I had so many. But one of my major ones was that I was working 24/7. I remember I would go to work, I would come home from work, and then on the weekends I would work.
Yes. I actually remember just my mum commenting on the colour of my skin. I think I actually lost so much weight that I don't ever remember being that tiny. Like it got to a point where it's like, you don't look okay. And I was like, I don't feel okay. Like the stress is taking its toll on a girl in her mid-20s. Like it wasn't normal.
Yeah. It can be a lot. We actually have a Facebook group full of new teachers, and we also have our membership, Transform Your First Years. So one of the things that we hear all the time are worries that new teachers have. And Alisha and I, of course, are very keen on listening to those worries, and we kind of take tabs on what people are saying. So we thought we'd talk about the 5 most common worries that new teachers have. Do you want to run through the 5, Alisha? Because we'll talk about the worries and then we'll talk about some solutions to those worries.
And that being said, the reason we started this podcast is because we don't want new teachers to walk the path that we walked in our first years, because we know there is a much better way to embrace the start of your teaching career. So we do hear from teachers on the reg regarding what's worrying them, and these are some of the things. So the first is building relationships with students, classroom management, lesson planning and delivery, assessments and grading, and balancing work and personal life.
So we'll talk about each of those different worries, and then we've got a solution to solve each of those worries too. So by the end of this podcast, hopefully you will have a whole heap of things in your toolkit ready to help you. If you have any of these concerns, the same as the other people in our community, you're not alone. We were actually saying one of the things we often say to our members inside Transform Your First Years is that it's normal to feel like you're riding the struggle bus, but you don't have to ride it if you don't want to. There is another way. And I think with teaching, and I'm sure it's in other industries too, we've normalized the fact that new teachers have to work really hard and that it needs to be super, super difficult. But Alisha and I want to break that narrative. We want to let you know that it does not have to be that way, and it is possible to have a work-life balance, and it is possible to survive and thrive in your first year of teaching. So that, as Alisha said, is why we started this podcast, and it's why we have our membership, and it's why we put out so much content on our blog and on our socials to help new teachers, because we want you to know that, yes, there can be challenges, but we want you to go and face them with confidence, and we're here to help you.
That's it. We don't want that roadblock to paralyze you. We want to give you a roadmap that you can use to get through and deviate around these challenges that come your way, because they're going to come your way, and you're going to have busy times in the year where your balance feels a bit skewed, and that's normal and that's okay. But it's not letting that imbalance overtake your life and happen on a continual basis from week to week. So we can help you break that cycle, and let's dive into it by how you can do that.
Okay, so the first one about building relationships with students. New teachers are often saying to us they feel worried about connecting with their students, and they know that they need to build those strong relationships with their students because they know that that's foundational to effective teaching. But they think, how am I going to do it when you're arriving in a classroom with all these new faces, you're at a new school, and how do you just get started with that from the get-go? So what is one solution, Alisha, that they can do to help them with this?
Whenever you're meeting a new group of students, any time of the year, you just want to spend time getting to know them. You don't want to start by just doing lesson after lesson and just cramming in as much of the curriculum as you can. You want to take time to pause. You want to have activities that allow you to get to know the students, for them to get to know each other, and also for them to get to know you. I think as a teacher, it's so important to be your authentic self. And if you have a fascination with maths jokes, then share them. If you have a love of, Formula One racing, then share it. If you've got an obsession with your dog, cat, or you have a zoo living in your house, share it, because at the end of the day, that's going to build connection between you and your students. So taking the time to have fun games, activities, brain breaks. If you love doing craft activities, just incorporate them into your learning. And that's going to help you and your students build relationships, which will allow for you to create those boundaries and expectations in the classroom so everyone is working kindly and respectfully together.
Yeah, I think once you get to know people, it's really much easier to build those connections. I actually have a funny story about that. James, who was on our podcast a few weeks ago, in his very first year, his classroom theme was pineapples. That was quite popular quite a few years ago. Teachers were having pineapple themed classrooms.
Yes.
Anyway, his door had a pineapple theme on it. All the decorations, he had pineapples made out of paper. It was really great. For Christmas that year from his students, he had about 26 kids in his class. He got 26 pineapple themed gifts. He said, I never know, what am I going to do with all these pineapples?
Tropical birthday parties for the next 5 years. That's what. Oh, yeah. That's great. But that was it, right? Like, it created this running joke in the classroom for the whole year. And funny you should say pineapples, because that would always be my code word for if I was trying to get my class to listen to me. And I'd be like, all right, I'm going to give you instructions and I'm going to say a special word, and the word's going to be pineapple. When you hear me say pineapple, put your hand up, and the first person who's listening gets to choose where they sit for this activity, or, something like that. So love pineapples.
Okay, another solution to get to know your students is starting off the first few weeks with playing some icebreaker games. So we've got some ideas on our blog, which we will link, and we've also got a pack of different resources that you can just print out and use. Also, if you are listening to this in real time, we have got our new teacher challenge starting tomorrow on the 9th of January. And on the 9th of January, the very first day of the challenge, which we will be going live on Facebook and on Instagram, we're going to be talking about setting up your first day of school, and we'll be talking about some icebreaker ideas and games there too. But icebreakers are great just to get to know your students more on a personal level, away from school, away from academics.
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't love a fun little game? No one in the staff room loves an icebreaker game. That's confirmed, though.
Yes, that is confirmed. However, they still just push through and make you do them during staff meeting.
Yeah, I'm that weirdo who actually doesn't mind a bit of an icebreaker. That's because I'm a nosy Parker.
I don't mind it too, as long as it's not like tell us an embarrassing story or something like that.
Yeah, keep it surface level.
Yeah.
No intimate details.
No. Problem number 2, or worry number 2, is around classroom management.
Yes, this is a big one. A lot of teachers are really stressed about how are they going to manage a class of kids, because straight away you are outnumbered. It is 1 to 25 up to 32 class sizes can get up to here in Australia. So we often hear about teachers who are just really stressed on like, how am I going to manage these kids? What am I going to do? How do I set the tone from the very first day? So we do have some pearls of wisdom that is really going to help simplify and break this down on how you can approach your classroom management in that first week of school.
Yes, we do. We often hear horror stories about teachers and managing a class and bad behaviors, but please don't think that you're going to walk into a classroom and then it's going to be an absolute riot. It isn't. If you put a few things into practice and a few things into play, you are going to be just fine. So the first solution is come along to our new teacher challenge, because on day 2, the 10th of January, Alisha will be talking about setting up a classroom management plan and how you need to go about that, and some different suggestions of what you can do. Our second solution is, if you're not listening to this in real time, is we have got a free masterclass that is full of suggestions on establishing a positive classroom environment. So we will put the link to that in our show notes. It's got a little workbook and it's got some videos that you can watch, and it really will help you plan out how to establish that positive classroom environment, which will in turn help your classroom management.
Absolutely. And just really think about, if you were starting at a new job, you would want it to feel inviting and to feel that you're heard and you're accepted. So really one thing that you can walk away with from this episode regarding classroom management is injecting fun into your classroom. Pockets of fun are going to help break the ice, get everybody just regulating themselves, and it's going to allow you to continue to reinforce whatever classroom expectations you have set up for your classroom. And those routines are going to be one of your saving graces. So if you haven't ever thought about your classroom routines, that is the one thing that you need to make sure marries up with your classroom management. But we will dissect this more in our new teacher workshop. So come along.
All right. Worry number 3 is around lesson planning and delivery. New teachers can often feel really intimidated by the responsibility of planning and delivering effective lessons that align with the learning standards and engage students and all the things.
Yes, I feel like we get teachers who are like, can you just give me the script? Where is the script for me to get my lesson template plans and be ready to go? And I think sometimes university ill prepares you because they make you write these scripts for word to word detail. And teaching in real life, it's not kind of like that. You go with the flow of your class. You have a rough outline. Like, we are big advocates for templates, but don't get caught up on the intricacies. Have a moment to just be with your students and, oh my gosh, I'm going to say it, just wing it sometimes. Give it a go. It's liberating.
It is liberating. And also, to survive and to thrive in teaching, sometimes we need to wing it. Sometimes we need to have those no frills lessons. Alisha and I talk about that a lot inside Transform Your First Years, having lessons that don't have all of those bells and whistles. Sometimes those simple lessons are the most effective, but there are some other things that you can do to really help you with lesson planning and preparing your programs. The first, which may be the hardest for some people, is to use the support of those around you. So you won't have been the first person that has taught this grade at your school. There will be people that have come before you. So there will be existing programs out there. They might be on the school network. They might be on the school cloud. You might have to ask colleagues, but ask for help and see if anyone has got old programs that you might take that program and you might use it, or you might take it and tweak it or change it the way that you feel is best. But you've at least got a starting off point and you're not starting from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you've got an outline, it makes it so much easier for you to formulate in your mind the stepping stones on where you're going to take the students on their learning journey, which allows you then to have those no frills, spontaneous lessons along the way, because it's just going to start to become easier for you.
It sure is. Now, if you are teaching with grade partners, if you're lucky enough to have other teachers in the school that are in your year level, divide and conquer. Take turns planning different subjects each term. So you might take on maths and your grade partner might take on English, and then you might swap over, but play to your strengths. Alisha and I were talking about this in our last podcast episode. We do that inside our business, Rainbow Sky Creations. We play to our strengths. And I think that that is really important when you're working with colleagues too. If you are really great at art, tell your colleagues that, because you'll be able to plan for that programming or those lessons. If instruction around spelling is your jam, let them know that, because you're going to be much quicker, much more effective, and plan better lessons when you're working in your wheelhouse.
That is absolutely correct. So when it comes to planning, templates are your friend. Help others and accept help. Plan assessments first. So if you know you've got your science program, what is your assessment going to be? And then work backwards from that to plan how you're going to get students to that point. And you can do that same with your core subjects. If you're looking at covering, say, writing, you want to get them to write a narrative. What do you have to teach them to get to that point? And the other thing is, it's okay to recycle lessons. I found that with teaching spelling to my students, we had a script, we had a pattern, we had a routine, and students responded really well to that. So I'm not going to change it up because I might be getting a bit bored. I'm not going to change it up because I can see I'm getting the results and the students are making progress. So sometimes we might feel we have to change things up and we can't recycle a lesson, but you can. It's okay.
You can. And that is actually a great point to say that it's really helpful for our neurodiverse students in our classroom too, if we're sticking to a routine and keeping things similar and regular all the time. In fact, it's great for all kids. Kids thrive on routine. And sometimes we forget that as adults and we think we need to change it up or mix things up. But routine is really very important.
I think everyone could agree that after a holiday, you're just itching to get back into your comfortable space, but get back into your routine. Whether you go away for 2 weeks, 2 months or 2 years, you reach a point where you're like, I just want some consistency. And the same goes for the kids in your classroom.
It sure does. Crayola Creativity Week is back again. The week-long worldwide program aims to nurture young children's minds and give them space to let their originality shine with plenty of resources and giveaways.
The program, which targets primary school age children, has been designed to assist teachers in the classroom and includes numerous new educational resources, a teacher guide, inspirational videos, daily challenges, downloadable thinking sheets, plus share students' ideas, projects, and work in a secure online gallery and connect with other creative classrooms around the country during the live celebration assembly event.
Sign up for Crayola Creativity Week for free at crayola.com/creativity week. The last little tip we have on lesson planning is, and you may hear us say this over and over again here at Rainbow Skies, but never spend more time on a lesson planning it than it will take your students to complete it. That's our golden rule when it comes to lesson planning.
So keep it simple. Keep it simple. If you're burning the midnight oil to plan a lesson, I think it's going to be better if you actually just stop, go to bed, and you will probably have an epiphany the next morning on how to teach that concept that's been niggling at your brain.
Okay, the next worry. Here we go. I'm going to say it, the D word, data. Data, assessment, grading, all the numbers, ensuring that students are learning and then assessing their progress accurately. That can cause new teachers, or any teacher really, to feel really anxious. And providing that feedback to your students, I can understand it's a lot that we have to be able to do, as well as all the other things like managing our class and planning the lessons and all of those things we've already spoken about. But one thing that we really highly recommend is to create a good habit of recording data and start doing it at the beginning of the year. So I'm really glad that you're here. And if you're listening to this in real time, it's awesome that you're here listening to this now, because we're just starting the new year here in Australia, and you'll be able to start doing this from the get-go.
Yes. Assessment is always a big one. I think it's that big word of like, how do I get the proof to prove to the students and to prove to the students' parents that they are where they are? So I think sometimes we just need to hit the pause button and go, do you know what? It's not that scary, and you're doing it every single day. Like I used to say to my students, they'd be like, oh, miss, we got a test. I'm like, but I'm testing you every day. If you want to look at it that way, every day I'm seeing the awesome learning that's happening in your brain. So this is not out of the ordinary. It's always happening. And some of them kind of give you that little light bulb moment of like, oh yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from there. So when it comes to assessing, make sure you have a system where you record it, whether it's a digital spreadsheet, which I'm a big advocate for, where you take it from an assessment planner and put it digitally just so you can manipulate those numbers and send it off to anyone who might need it, especially if you've got like learning support or anyone in administration might be like, can I get your numbers, etc. for XYZ. The other thing is here's 5 ways that you can assess students. We already talked about one of them. It's work backwards. So start with the end goal where you want students to get and then plan your lessons backward. I always love to do post-it note reflections. So get your students to just write down anything that they've learned on a concept or something that's still a sticky point for them and just get them to give that post-it note to you. And straight away, you've got some evidence there on going, oh, how I've planned this program, it's tracking well. Or, hey, we've still got a sticky spot, so we might just hit the pause button and cover that for another 2 days. The other thing is make assessment fun. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out experience. It could be a quiz. It could be the sticky notes. It could be tell your partner the strangest thing that you learnt this week. You could incorporate board games, presentations. So make it fun. If it's fun for the students, the learning is going to happen. And the other one we're very big on is exit tickets. They're short, they're sharp, and it gives you your core content really quickly. So if you're thinking of maths or even your like spelling, grammar, give them a quick exit ticket. They'll fill it in, which will be something like out of these 10 numbers, circle all the even numbers. And right then and there, you know if students have grasped the concept of odd and even numbers. So
yeah, we love exit tickets. We actually have a blog post about 10 different ways that you can easily assess your students that don't feel like they're taking tests in inverted commas. So we will make sure that we link that blog post in the show notes if you want to have a bit more of a read and get a few more ideas around assessment and collecting data.
Absolutely. Now, the last worry is balancing work and your personal life. I think it's a constant battle for 99.9% of the world.
It sure is. Because it is a constant battle.
Because if I don't feel like it's work or personal life, I feel like it's adult life and personal life.
Yeah, for sure. So, gosh, where do we start with this? I mean, I think we could dive into how to balance or ways to balance your work and personal life over a whole episode. But let's just scrape the surface here and talk about setting up systems for yourself from the beginning. So we spoke about routines and how students thrive on routine, but as human beings, we thrive on routine. So setting things up for yourself that will help you with this balance of work and personal life. Work is always going to be there. So we really love taking 1 day a week or a fortnight if you have to stretch it, but try for a week. Choose the day, might be a Thursday, a Wednesday, a Tuesday, and leave work early on that day and don't do anything related to work on that day. Now, we've got another teacher friend and she said she always loved to do this on a Friday, but I feel like Friday is kind of a bonus day. Choose another day and then you kind of got Friday, which is a bonus day. Everyone leaves school earlier anyway. Choose another day during the week that you dedicate to you. I had an assistant principal and she would love to do this on a Thursday, and every Thursday she had an appointment for her nails and she just went off and did that and nothing changed it. She wouldn't book parent meetings in that day. There was no executive meetings that day. She always had that appointment. And I think that was really great because she was staying true to herself and she was having that appointment with herself, that routine that she could stick with.
Yes, making that time sacred for you. I reckon that's really important. The other thing is when you think of balance, you think of those things, what are the stresses in the week? Like I know for me, it would be, do I have food to eat? Like I need food to fuel. So consider prepping your lunches or prepping your dinners or just cooking bulk so that you were able to chuck some in the freezer. The other thing is like it could be just getting up in the morning and working out what to wear is a stressor and that overwhelms you. Plan your wardrobe for the week. I am not the fashionista of Rainbow Sky. And I'll tell you a reason why, because when I was teaching, and this happened across a couple of classes, they would actually name my outfits because I was just so consistent. So it got to the point where I was like, I was the Bumblebee day because I was wearing my yellow and black outfit, or it was Miss Hughes the Leprechaun because I was wearing my green and my stripes. And I remember one student saying to me like, Miss, do you have more than 2 pairs of shoes? Like you always wear the same shoes. And I'm like, yeah, these are my work shoes, just like your school uniform. These are the shoes that I put on to be like, I'm in work mode. And I didn't have to think about it because it was just so formulated and it took so much stress out of my day. So try it.
I really love that. It is taking the thinking out of it. I know that there's famous people that wear the same clothes, that just have multiple options of the same clothes, so they don't have to worry about what to wear every day. I love choosing what to wear. It's like the highlight of my day. But that's Alisha and I. We're the yin and the yang.
Yes, I'd be like the highlight would be like accessorizing to go with it. But yeah, I've heard a lot of professional people just stick to like black. Like nobody knows if you're wearing the same black t-shirt fifth day in a row, but they know if it's a patterned t-shirt, they'll recognize it. But there you go. Maybe you want to take on the minimalist wardrobe challenge, or you just want to plan your week in advance so you can get to wear all the amazing clothes in your wardrobe.
Yeah, there's a great Instagrammer, Rachel. Her Instagram handle is at a good little teach, and she does lots of great teacher outfit inspos. But she also, at the beginning of the week, I hope she does it this year while we're talking about this on the podcast, she plans out her weekly wardrobe, and she even has like little challenges, like wear a skirt and a dress on this day. And it's really good if you find that making those decisions can be really tricky.
That's it. And then the last thing with balancing your personal work, life and all that jazz is sometimes just putting things in place at school. So a really simple one is actually taking time to have your lunch break.
Yeah.
And going to the staff room, there's so many benefits to it. I was just telling our members about it. It actually enhances your productivity when you take time to pause and to have a breather. It's going to help with your emotional and mental well-being. And it actually leads to greater creativity. So if you've got a sticky point on something that you're just finding challenging and you can't work out the problem, you probably just need to take a pause or go for a walk, do some doodling to just give your brain time to rest and come up with that idea. And the last thing is that taking your lunch breaks allows you to build community and connect with your colleagues. And we're not saying go hang out with all the colleagues in your school or make sure you go and find that colleague who really irritates you. We're saying go hang around those people that allow you to have a bit of a laugh and you enjoy their company. And when you walk away, you feel a bit lighter and ready to take on the challenges in the classroom. So take a break. You need it.
Yeah. Having those teacher friends at school can really make such a huge difference too, because you have a bit of an alliance. You have friends to look forward to seeing. You have someone to go and visit if, your day didn't go very well, or you're finding things a bit stressful, or I don't know, you need sticky tape and your next door neighbor isn't as kind as what you'd like them to be.
Yes.
Really, it's beneficial.
Absolutely. I'd probably say some of my closest friends were my ex-colleagues. So you're gonna meet a best friend in your school that you're teaching at. So get a bit excited about that.
Yeah, same. I got friends that I taught with 20 years ago now, and we're still great friends and we always catch up. So yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. So they were the 5 top worries that we see really come out commonly with new teachers, and some little solutions that could help you start to solve those worries. But don't forget, we have got our new teacher challenge coming up starting on the 9th of January, going from the 9th, 10th and 11th of January. It's all online. We do short lives each day on Instagram and in our private Facebook group. We will pop the link to join that challenge in the show notes. So you'll get your little workbook. You'll get all the details that you need and you can come and join us. And the aim of the challenge is that you won't have as many worries or as many concerns or feel as overwhelmed going into that new school year.
That's correct. You might be there going, hang on a second. I can't carve out 20 minutes of my day during those dates to come to the live event. We totally understand that. Life is busy, school holiday mode, time zone differences. We get it. Ash and I are working on a 3-hour difference. So we will be hosting the replays. So that's why if you go and download the workbook, you'll get access to all the information, allowing you to view it at a later date and to touch base with us and ask any questions that may be on your mind when it comes to starting in the school year.
For sure. So next week, before we go, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to be talking about classroom displays. The reason we're going to chat about this is because your classroom is a space that you are going to occupy a lot during your working day. It's probably the room room that you're going to spend the most time in apart from when you're trying to get some sleep with all the craziness that happens as a teacher. So we're going to give you some tips to save time and cut corners when it comes to classroom displays and how to set up your room.
Yeah, we're going to give you a few little hacks that are going to be so helpful.
So come join us next week. And until then, there are rainbows ahead, my friend.
And together, we're unstoppable.